Congratulations.
Thank you.
9 books later,
Yeah,
and here we are
yeah.
with Fragments of Freedom, Bits and Pieces of a Life Unchained.
Yeah.
And to give the viewer, the audience, a little better understanding of what this whole project is about, we're going to show them the trailer. You good with that?
Yeah. Let's do it. Roll it.
This isn't a blueprint. It's a record. A collection of moments, some clear, some half-formed. Thoughts that showed up late at night or somewhere between songs. Pieces of a life being lived, not figured out. Freedom, it turns out, doesn't arrive finished. It shows up in fragments. These pages were written off stage, in quiet rooms, on long drives, in the middle of unfinished conversations. Nothing here is trying to fix you. Nothing here is asking you to agree. It's just an honest look at what freedom feels like when you stop chasing it and start noticing where it's already breaking in. Welcome to the bits and pieces of my unchained life.
So I know you well, very well, because I work for and with you behind the scenes. My description of you always has been, to anybody who works with us on the staff or otherwise, is that to understand you, you have to see you as a disruptor. In general, in everything, and in every way. It's just the trajectory of your influence. I think this book meets you there. It also is a disruption to many things. What it includes, even down to how it's formatted. And when people get it, it is somewhat of a gallery effect. It flows with the same measure of disruption that I know about you. And I think that that's the final product here, is that it's a disruption in a good way, in every way. That's the first thing that I want to hear you address, because it is very different than anything that you've done before.
Yeah. First of all, I don't try to be a disruptor. I just came into this world a disruptor, and my 80-year-old mother can verify that. Of all the 7 kids that my parents had, we all have, the boys anyway, there's 5 boys and 2 girls. The boys have a tendency toward disruption, but I think mine was more or less level 11 from the time I came into this world.
To 11.
Yeah. In fact, it's funny because my older sister just sent the rest of us kids a digitized version of all of the family photo albums that we accumulated for, decades. From before I was born to after I was born, family vacations, birthdays, holiday, all that kind of stuff. And it's so funny looking back through those pictures because none of us have really changed that much. We've changed the way we look. Obviously, we're older. But it just was a good reminder that people don't change that much as they get older. And some of the pictures of me when I was 4, 5, 10, 14, just had disruption written all over his face. So I was born that way. In terms of how this book is disruptive, there's a sense in which the content is disruptive because I'm beating the same drum, which is the radical grace which produces real and felt freedom. But it was also a disruption. It is also a disruption in the way that it is presented. I've written, as you mentioned, this is book number 9. Every book before this was more of a traditional chapter book. 10 chapters, 12 chapters, 13 chapters. I wanted to do something different this time. I had a vision for what I wanted this next book to be. And in the music world, they refer to it as a concept album, essentially, where it's a collection of singles that more or less have one running theme throughout. So I knew the running theme throughout all of the content in the book would be freedom. But rather than describe freedom or give the reader a theology or a philosophy of freedom. I wanted to demonstrate it. What does it actually look like to be free? And that, of course, required the flow and the format and the design of the book to scream freedom also. And so I had this vision for what I wanted it to be. And when I presented that vision to the publisher, they just got it. When I sat with the team at the publishing house and described what I was talking about, I was remarkably impressed and surprised that they really understood what I was getting at. I think I have an artistic bent to me that may surprise some people. But when you're writing a traditional chapter book, the exercising of your artistry happens almost exclusively in words, sentences, paragraphs, pictures that you're painting with your words and sentences and paragraphs. And I love that. It's the way that I've always written. It's the way that I like to write. Those are the kind of writers that I enjoy reading. But I wanted this to have an added dimension to it. I wanted this to be a fuller expression of who I am, more than just the artistry of putting words and sentences and paragraphs and pages together. And so I wanted this to feel more like a diary, a personal diary, which means I gave myself permission to write about whatever I wanted. The format of the book is 62 entries, for lack of a better word. They're not in order. You can go in any order you want. You can pick it up in the middle and read. None of them are longer than 350 words. It's not a devotional. I've written a devotional before, and it's not that. It's way more, I think, personal and vulnerable than that. I gave myself permission to write about whatever I wanted to write about, whatever was interesting to me the morning that I set out to write a particular entry or 5. Usually it takes me between 12 and 18 months, 9 and 18 months to write a book. This one took me a lot shorter than that because these are bite-sized chunks. And I would wake up one morning and say, I was really moved by this particular song maybe that I had heard that morning, or I maybe had paid attention to the lyrics in a way I hadn't before. And I just had a thought about how that connects to the way I'm feeling in that moment, and that's what I'd write about. So it was very off the cuff, which I like. Everything felt spontaneous as I was writing it. It was what I was feeling in that moment, on that day, so on and so forth. And so by writing it that way, it really did give me it was kind of unintentional, but as I was finishing up, I started thinking, this does convey the message of freedom in a disruptive sort of manner, because I'm not making an argument for freedom in the typical way. I'm just being free on the page and giving people a sense of what that looks like, what that feels like. And the graphic designer that the publisher brought on to help with the design, it's very, as you mentioned, very gallery-like. The content is overlaid on top of a variety of different kinds of graphics and pictures. Some of the pictures are personal. Some of the pictures are of when I was young. Some of the stories that I tell go along with some of the graphics that the stories are on top of. I talk a lot about music because I love music, always have. So some of the entries are just sort of a rumination or a reflection on a song or a band or some kind of band drama that may have been happening in the band at the time that that particular song was released. So there are QR codes throughout the book that if the reader hits it, will take them to a particular playlist or a particular song. So as they're reading sort of my reflection on top of a graphic that illustrates what I'm saying, they can hit the QR code and listen to the song that I'm talking about while they're reading.
And it very much is an immersive sort of.
Very immersive. It's interactive in that sense. It's immersive. And that is a much more accurate reflection of the various dimensions of my artistry, so to speak. I mean, I speak, I preach on a weekly basis. I have the opportunity to put words and sentences together that I hope paint pictures in people's minds. But the advantage you have when you're speaking is that you are doing it in person, and so there is an animation, there are expressions, there are things that enable you to express yourself that you are kind of restricted from doing when you're writing a book. So at least that's been my experience. I mean, you're writing a book, people don't see you, they don't hear your voice, they don't see the reflection in your eyes and the contortions in your face or the way you move your hands or whatever. You're acting out what you're saying when you're a public speaker. So I was like, how can we capture some of that in an artistic way in book form? So some people have referred to it as a coffee table-like book. And it is that in a sense, but it's much more substantive than that. I'm really proud of the content in the book, very much so. The design does not outweigh the content. The content doesn't outshine the design. They're very, very compatible. I think they're very complementary. So I had so much fun writing this thing that I told the publisher, I don't know if I could ever go back to writing a traditional chapter book. This experience, as I mentioned, gave me the ability to express myself in a way that was much more multidimensional than other books.
That's true. I was there behind the scenes when this was starting, when the idea kind of emerged.
You were in that initial conversation?
I was.
Yeah.
And what I took away from that was the joy that you had in anticipation of writing this versus maybe the labor involved in some other things.
Yeah.
In my opinion, Tullian, this is kind of the perfect encapsulation of who you are as a person in written form, both in format, in style, and in content. You've kind of come full circle in all your experience in this. So in a very tactile sort of way, this is kind of who you are at this stage of your life. You agree with that? 100%.
I could not have said it better. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. This is an accurate reflection of who and where I am now in comparison to who and where I was maybe 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Or whatever.
I work in words as well. Really respect wordsmiths, right? And you're a great wordsmith. It's easy to be hard to understand, right?
Yeah, and it's hard to be easy to. I got you.
You know, the simplicity of writing. This is kind of an open anywhere book, and some of the best authors that I read and go back to, I open it anywhere, and there's something of significance in there. Now I know the topics that are in here. I've read most of the entries that are in here. They address these questions that are on people's minds, but they've never really been able to formulate the answers to. Christian audience, non-Christian audience. Address the topics that are in here.
Yeah, they're so varied. Like I said, I gave myself permission to write about whatever I felt like writing about. I wanted to experience the freedom that I was talking about in the writing process. So I gave myself the freedom to do that. You know, for those who are familiar with books that I've written before or messages that I've preached, talks that I've given, things like that, then it's no shock, it's no surprise that grace and the freedom that grace produces is the central motif of everything I say and everything I write. In fact, basically everything I say and everything I write is just another look from a different angle at those things. So the reader will not be surprised if they're familiar with anything that I write or say that really is the driving force, because that's who I am. So I talk about childhood experiences of dropping acid to, I mean, becoming reacquainted with the Alan Parsons Project to Seinfeld to just things that I experienced in the last 3 months to parenting and experiences that I've had with my kids, my adult kids now who are, my best friends. I mean, I talk about hard stuff. I talk about I'm not a poet. I don't write poetry, but there's one poem that I did write when I was feeling especially low and overlooked that I included in this. There is an entry that I asked my daughter Jenna permission to put in the book that she wrote. She was in Switzerland last summer for 3 months and living there and studying there at a study center called L'Abri. And she sent me, when she was there, she sent me this thing that she wrote in her journal, and it was unbelievable. And so when I was putting this book together, I asked her, can I share that? Can I share that? Like, just put it as is. So that's in there. Movies, conversations that I've had. In fact, probably the best way for me to do that, to answer your question, is to read the introduction. By the way, to our viewing audience, this is, I just got my hands on this thing a couple hours ago. I'm holding this for the first time. It's kind of surreal. It's like you've been in labor and you're finally holding your baby. Let me see if I can. Yeah. So this is the, and you can sort of see the, the inside. It just looks just very like, here's a QR code that goes to a Peter Gabriel song that I reflect on. So the entries are really no longer than that.
It's got a liner's note.
It does. Yeah.
Feel to it.
Yeah. I mean, so it's got, and all the, sometimes the, like they're just, the entries are no longer that, and they're not connected in any chronological way. You can just sort of, you can open it wherever you want. There are a couple, I'm going to read the introduction in a second, but there are a couple like this, even the way it's designed on the page, just a variety of different quotes from me and other people that fill other pages. I love it. I mean, I'm literally seeing some of these pages for the first time right now.
It's cool. It's
let's see, there's one.
It's a piece of art in and of itself.
Yeah, like here's an entry over here, but the way it's overlaid on top of this, and when you read the entry, it very much goes hand in hand with the design. Joe DeLeon, who designed this, he just got me. He understood me, and what he was able to do is amazing. So this is it's real short, but I'll read the I don't even know if you can call it an introduction. That sounds like too traditional of a word for what this is, but it's essentially an introduction. This book doesn't prescribe anything. It's more diary than dissertation. It's a record, an album, a collection of moments, thoughts, songs, failures, hopes, confessions, and half-formed reflections gathered along the way of learning. Let me start that again. A collection of moments, thoughts, songs, failures, hopes, confessions, and half-formed reflections gathered along the way of a life learning, slowly, stubbornly, to enjoy the gift of freedom. This book wasn't written from a podium. It was written from the floor. From late nights, early mornings, playlists on repeat, solo car rides, unfinished conversations, and the quiet realization that freedom felt doesn't arrive all at once. It comes in pieces, in fragments. For a long time, I thought freedom was something you achieved by getting your life right, by tightening the screws, by fixing what was broken, managing what was messy, and figuring things out. But real freedom didn't show up when I finally had answers. It showed up when I stopped needing them. What you'll find here are short reflections, some barely more than a page, on the stuff that actually makes up a life. Memories and moods, music that names what words can't, struggles that refuse to be neatly resolved, grace that keeps interrupting our best attempts at self-improvement. There are no outlines, no three-point takeaways, no pressure to agree, improve, or perform. Just honest observations from inside a life that's still very much in process.
This book won't try to convince you that you're free. It will try to show you what freedom looks like, feels like, tastes like when it's experienced instead of examined, when it sneaks up on you rather than submits to your control. Fragments of Freedom is meant to be read the way life is lived, non-linear, interruptible, and without urgency. Open it anywhere. Sit with the page. Let it annoy you, comfort you, make you laugh, or simply keep you company. It's not designed to tell you what to think. It's an invitation to notice where freedom might already be breaking in, often through unexpected entrances. Welcome to the bits and pieces of my unchained life.
It's good.
So you can see how it's just like, I just sort of gave myself, permission to write whatever. Just there, I reflect on the song Breathe by Pink Floyd on this page, but you've got like the notes of the song here. You've got a QR code to go listen to the song. So there's just a bunch of really cool, some of the font looks like this. This is one entry. And it looks this page looks very different than this page. So it's just...
Every page really curated.
Every page is curated. Every page. There is not one page in this book that looks like another page. Not one.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You're doing a series right now called B-Side.
Yeah.
Inspired by this process.
Yes.
Where you're paralleling biblical themes with themes in music.
Yeah.
What we would call popular music.
Yeah.
But the B-side songs.
Yeah.
And what somebody said to me one day made total sense. They said, when I hear the sermon, connect the song, and then listen to the song, I never think of the song without thinking of the sermon, the biblical passage. This book kind of has that effect. That's why the device of the QR code is in there. So highly recommend you take advantage of that. Read the passage that you wrote, then listen to the song.
Or listen to it while you're reading it. Yeah. Yeah. There's a QR code on the page. Hit the QR code, takes you to the song, put the song on, read as you're listening.
Yeah, and
it's even better.
If this is your first introduction to Fragments of Freedom, you can go to fragmentsbook.com.
Yep.
Get your copy of it there.
And it's sold wherever books are sold, but fragmentsbook.com has the best price.
Yeah.
Has the cheapest price.
So one of my favorite entries in here, as an example of kind of what's the variety of things that are covered, Fragments of Freedom, as it were. You wrote this piece on accountability groups. And go for the jugular on our certainty about things. And I think that's one of the things that this book does, is that it challenges that, our certainty about things from our tradition or what we've learned. And there are these creeping questions we have maybe about that's not as certain as I think it is. This book has that sort of effect. It doesn't pull the foundation out from under you at all, but it does make you question some things which might inhibit our freedom.
Yeah, or our experience of it, for sure. And I think that's, one of the lines that I use on a regular basis around here or wherever is just enjoy the gift. There is so much brokenness and distortion all around us. We know it, we feel it, we sense it. But there's also a lot to enjoy that God has given us. And I think sometimes in religious circles, we have imposed restrictions on people in terms of where they can experience God, where they can see God. And typically we reserve those spots for religious spaces, church services, listening to Christian music, that sort of thing. And I fundamentally disagree with that. I mean, just fundamentally. And so part of my, the method to my madness in this, by just giving people an inside diary-like look at what my life feels like on any given day, is my way of saying, it's okay. Go listen to the music that you love. Go watch the movies that move you. Go have the conversations that you enjoy having. God can be found, experienced, felt in a wide variety of different places. And the places where, and I talk about this in the book in one of the entries, some of the places that I've experienced the transcendence, the wonder of God,
have been at music festivals or sitting in my car listening to a song by myself. And I'm not talking about a worship song. People ask me all the time, what's your favorite kind of music? I said, I really like all kinds of music. I mean, I have my preferences. But there are three kinds of music that I really don't like. Country, and nothing against country music fans. I just grew up in South Florida with a Swiss father and an American mother. Country music just wasn't played in our house.
Well, I'm from Nashville, and I agree with
Yeah.
you.
So country, death metal, like that guttural, that stuff scares me. And contemporary Christian. I mean, that's, I've never really been a huge fan of contemporary Christian music.
Ironic.
Yeah, so I'm not talking about finding God in Christian things. I'm talking about finding God in human things, creative things, experiencing God in those ways, and just giving people permission to enjoy the gift. Just enjoy the gift. You are free to listen to what you want to listen to, talk to who you want to talk to, watch what you want to watch, go where you want to go, do what you want to do. There's way more freedom to be experienced, I think, than what we typically acknowledge.
You mentioned a word that I think aptly describes the delivery system of this book, which is human.
Yeah.
One of your traits here, when you preach on a regular basis, is accessibility and your humanity. People get to see a quote-unquote preacher or pastor differently. Like you're there. This book is very human because it originates with your own struggles, your own questions, your own likes, desires, those sorts of things. And that makes this book, and the message it delivers, very accessible on that level. Talk about the humanity that's found in this book, which I did. The reason I asked that question is that it's a connecting piece for people who are going to pick it up and read it.
Yeah.
They're going to say, the way that you said about the publisher and the designer, he understands who I am as a person.
Yeah, I mean, I don't write, how do I put this? I didn't set out to write a Christian book, if that makes any sense.
Also
I think
ironic.
you and I have talked about this before, but anytime the word Christian is used as an adjective rather than a noun, it often is synonymous with bad art. Okay, so Christian music, Christian movies, Christian books. I mean, I write as a Christian, but that's very different than writing a Christian book. I don't even know what a Christian book is in that sense. It's doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If you are a Christian, my dad, for example, was a psychologist, and he was a Christian, and people would ask him if he was a Christian psychologist, and he would always, in his thick European accent, he would always say, I am a psychologist who happens to be a Christian. And that was his way of saying there is a lot to glean from, and there's a lot to learn, there's a lot to experience in what we would consider secular. Okay, this divide between sort of religious and secular, the secular marketplace. So I write as a human to other humans. I mean, that I'm not writing from an outside of the human race kind of experience. I'm talking about doubts that I still have, even some doubts that grow as I get older. Not so much doubts about God and God's love for me and God's grace, but doubts about myself, doubts with regard to ideas that I would once die for that I could give a rat's ass about now. When I was an idealistic youth before crashing and burning and losing it all, there's a lot you learn about yourself and about the human condition during and on the other side of catastrophe. So I write as a human to humans about human things, just normal, everyday, common things. One of the things that my wife Stacy and I talk about all the time is just how one of the things that I think can separate a Christian from somebody else is just how normal they are. And what's so ironic is that in the minds of most people, Christians are weird. They're abnormal. They have their own, they have their own award shows for their own music with their own celebrities. It's a subculture. It's an absolute subculture. And I'm like, it's just, why? Why? I mean, if we are being honest, we have the same struggles and the same doubts and the same insecurities and the same fears and the same areas where we derive pleasure as anybody else does. And so I don't think about myself as a writer of Christian books. I was built to be a writer. It's what I do. It's what I am. I that's just how I think. And
you definitely don't need to know Christian nomenclature.
Oh gosh, no.
To benefit from this.
No.
Do you want to give away some books?
We promised people that if they, I forget what we said, if they comment, I think Fragments of Freedom.
Comment on
right now in the comment section. Comment Fragments of Freedom. We are choosing 3 random winners and giving away 3 of these. So we will identify who those people are once we're off camera and have a chance to go back and look at the comments, and we'll just sort of randomly select. I'll probably know more the names of the commenters, I'm guessing, because I'm active on social media. So I'll probably have you choose, because that will ensure that it's really random and that I'm not showing any favoritism toward anybody. But yeah, we're giving away 3 copies.
Yeah.
3 copies. And I just got mine today. This is June 24th. I just got mine today, but the rest, I got word today that the rest are being shipped tomorrow and the end of this week. So sorry, by the way, to anybody who pre-ordered it, because the original release date was June 2nd, but because the design is so intricate.
It's your fault.
It is my fault. The design is so intricate that it took longer than we thought. So today, June 24th, is the official release date. If you pre-ordered it, it will ship. Fragmentsbook.com is where people can go to get a cheaper price than Amazon or Barnes & Noble.
I'm excited to have my own. One last question.
All right.
When someone typically sits down to write, they are writing to a specific person that they've formed in their mind. Mm-hmm. That person is connected to a million other people. You write well to that person, you write well to the rest, mm-hmm. right? Who's this book written to? And I asked you this question before, and your answer, it shocked me, honestly.
Well, I think I said, I don't know. But when you frame the question the way you just did, it's going to sound self-serving, but I wrote it for me. And the reason I don't think that is ultimately self-serving is because I don't think I'm that different than anybody or everybody else. So I kind of excavate what's going on. And I preach this way too. This is the way I prepare sermons. I excavate what's going on in my own heart. And then I present that. Because my assumption, my working assumption, is that I'm really not that different than anybody else. We all have our uniqueness, and we all have, our particular proclivities, good ones and bad ones, but we all share the same human condition. We all have fears, and we all have insecurities, and we all have doubts, and we all have joys, and we all have things that bring us pleasure, and we all have hope or hopelessness given the season, depending on the season. So I write for me, believing that if I write for me, I am in essence writing for everyone. I want to read, as I'm answering this, I'm thinking about one more thing that I want to read, because the word disruptor that you introduced at the very beginning has been rumbling around in my head. And I don't know if you thought of that description after reading this, but if it will just go to show once more how aligned we are in the way we think about things. If you didn't frame it because you read this, because listen to what I say here. This is entry What is this? This is the first entry. This is the first entry after the introduction. This is what the page looks like. I've always had a natural bent toward disruption. I question what's settled. I poke at what's polished. I get itchy when things feel too tidy, too certain, too morally airtight. For a long time, I thought that meant I was rebellious by temperament. Maybe it does. In fact, I'm sure it does. But I've also come to see something else underneath it. Grace is the original disruptor. Grace refuses to behave. It interrupts systems that reward the deserving and destabilizes hierarchies built on who's right, clean, or improving fastest. It shows up where it doesn't belong and gives gifts to people who can't justify receiving them, which means it offends our sense of fairness and short-circuits our moral math. That's where I think I get it from. When grace gets a hold of you, it ruins your ability to leave conventions unchallenged, especially religious ones. It makes you suspicious of any system that can't tolerate messy people or unanswered questions. It trains you to look for God not at the top of the ladder, but at the bottom, handing out mercy where it makes the least sense. I'm not trying to be edgy. I'm not interested in tearing things down for sport. I'm just too familiar with ways polished religion can hide fear, control, and self-justification. Grace disrupted me first, and once that happens, you don't really get to go back to business as usual. That's an entry. The first entry, and I think in many ways that does kind of frame
Intro to the book itself.
Yeah. So
Well, I've told you this personally, and I'll just say it here to the audience. I have great respect for your writing
thank you.
skill. And additionally, there are several of your volumes that are paradigm-shifting thoughts, right? And I've heard lots of people, I read it, thought this way, after reading it, my world shifted. I think this is going to fit in that class.
I hope so, man. I really do, because the thing I want most for people is to enjoy the freedom they already have. It's not that we are getting a new freedom, it's that we become awakened to the freedom that's already ours. And all too often, especially in religious circles, that freedom is feared, and so it's put inside some tight box, and I think people become less human when that happens. And so this is a celebration of and a rumination of the freedom that we already have, in the hopes that you will feel more human, not less human, as a result of experiencing
Fragments of Freedom.
That's it.
Bits and pieces of a life unchained.
That's it.
Remind them where they can find it.
Fragmentsbook.com.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Let's go.